G'day everybody, welcome back to the Average Joe Radio Show with episode number 55. Today's special guest is Stephanie Melania. If I was to describe Stephanie in 2 words, it would be bold and confident. And the reason I say bold is, put it this way, imagine you go to a party and someone is really overdressed and just really, really bold with what outfit they are wearing. That's Stephanie, and she's actually very confident with it and happy to be that person, as she learned a lot about self-love in high school and taking on into her 20s and actually starting her own business, which falls under the space of beauty, being a makeup artist. And if you look into her work, it seems to be the case that her work is quite unique and bold, and it matches her personality quite a bit. Now, with that said, every confident person would have gone through a very low confidence phase as well. So a couple of years ago, Stephanie went through the phase of, not knowing what she's doing with her life, going from job to job and finding herself in a position where I guess most of us do as we reach our mid-20s. So without giving away too much, I hope that's enough of an intro for you guys to understand what kind of context this podcast is going to be in. Before we continue with this show, I want to take this time to acknowledge and say thank you for those who have been supporting the podcast over the past 2 years. I believe this podcast wouldn't be where it is today without the support it's been getting, and it's all thanks for you guys sharing the podcast and giving a rating on Spotify or Apple. If you're new to this podcast or a new supporter, what I ask of you is to show support by doing the same, and I would just love to continue serving you guys with different guests and different topics every single week. And it's all thanks to the support and the exposure it's been getting to the people out there that, that may need to hear this or just find value in hearing the conversation. So again, I just want to say thank you for the support, and let's grow together. Enjoy the show.
Hello.
Before we get into any topics, the one question I had in mind to ask you first, can you explain the earliest context, that straight from the get-go, at the top of your head, your earliest context?
What does that mean?
Yeah. Context as in, if you can think back the earliest time of your life that could shape you who you are today, what would it be?
Like the earliest memory that I have, like ever.
Earliest memory you have ever to sort of shape who you are as a woman.
Ooh. I'm not sure what memory shaped who I am as a woman, but I do know my earliest memory.
Go for it.
So my earliest memory, I think I was about 4 years old, and I was in my backyard, and it was like a really hot and sunny day, and I had this like wax toy. Like, it's just like a weird toy. It's kind of Play-Doh-y and waxy, and it was like shaped like an egg, and it was just one of those like squishy toys, like those stress things, like you just squish them.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just remember like squishing it, and it just melted like in my hand. That's the earliest memory of my life that I have. Just being in my backyard and like just squishing this melty thing. But if I had to pick a memory that maybe shaped me into who I am as a woman, I think it would be maybe when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I grew up in a house with my grandma, my grandpa, and my mum. And so when I was little, my grandpa, every time I finished having a shower, he would always ask me to sit on a stool, like in front of the TV, and have like a little snack or like maybe dinner or something. And he would comb my hair until it was dry. Like, he would constantly just comb it, and he really taught me how to be like a feminine type of woman, like especially because my mom's side of the family is from Laos. So Lao women are expected to be very ladylike and like, very like feminine and classy. And so he always told me like how to sit, like, how to eat, like etiquette and things like that. And it's funny because I was taught how to be feminine from a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think it comes from the fact that both my mom and my grandma are not so feminine. So, yeah, like my mom was like very much like a tomboy. She had a lot of masculine energy and, you know, she was like very like do it yourself kind of thing. Whereas I kind of grew up like a princess where like my whole family like did everything for me. Like they still taught me how to do things independently, but if I didn't have to, like I wouldn't, like they would do it like only if I had to do something, like I would. Oops. And so, yeah, it's just the woman that I am today is like very in her feminine energy. And so, like, I have a boyfriend who's very traditional. Like, he works very hard. He has a business and he, you know, looks after me, takes care of me. And I have my own, like, you know, career things going on as well. But he has, like, a priority to make sure, like, that I can relax and that one day he wants to like marry me and I take care of the kids and everything like that. So we have like that very traditional kind of relationship. And so I guess the woman that I am today is like just very free and, you know, at peace and definitely like in her divine feminine energy.
I love it.
Thank you.
What an intro.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I actually continue with that, you mentioned feminine and masculine energy.
Yeah.
What do you know about that? And before you answer, the reason I ask is I'm learning a little bit more about it.
Okay.
Like being with my partner for, I would say, almost 5 years. Only as of recently, I've learned how to, like, I learned the difference between the two.
Yeah.
And how I was always in masculine, and it's actually good to be in both, even as a man.
I think so. Even as a woman, yes.
Yeah, so someone that's very feminine that you described, how do you enter your masculine energy?
I think when I enter my masculine energy, it's always when I have to stand up for myself. Even though, like, as a lady, it's like you have to be, like, you have to be, like, more, I guess, reserved or, like, you know, not too outspoken. But I'm also someone that doesn't let people walk all over me and, like, I don't, you know, I can see through like a lot of people's tricks and when someone's being very deceitful. So I'm very aware of myself and protective of myself at the same time. So that's when I step into my masculine energy, is like when I have to set my boundaries and step up for myself because obviously as a child, even though I was taught to be, you know, very like reserved and feminine, like being like a girl in this day and age, like a little girl as well, and especially being raised by a young mom, like you clash a lot. And so I was a really stubborn kid regardless. Like I wasn't bad, I just like never listened, always talk back. Whenever something like I didn't like something, I had no problem like voicing that I didn't like something. And so my mom and I would clash a lot because like she would tell me to do something, I'm like, no. And so over time, that personality trait has taught me to really stand up for myself and like, you know when I'm being disrespected, know when, you know, I need to like assert myself, take control of certain situations and, you know, just really stand up for myself and like be in control of my life.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One thing you didn't mention was having like you didn't mention a father figure in your household.
Oh.
Yeah, so can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so my parents split before I was born because they were just young. And even though I didn't grow up in my dad's house, I still had him in my life. So I saw him every weekend. And he lived around the corner from me. So it wasn't hard to see him or anything. And he definitely made sure that he was like in my life at all times because he grew up with divorced parents. So he knows what it's like to not have a father figure around. And so even though he wasn't like in love with my mom or anything, he didn't want that for me because at the end of the day, I'm his child and I'm his number one. So in his eyes, I was always his little princess. Yeah. And so even though I didn't grow up with him, like he still made the effort to be there and to be my dad through every step of the way.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right. So now speaking of all this feminine energy and, you know, like the woman you are today, you are in this industry of a very feminine, I guess, or to me anyway, it's a very
Yeah.
feminine industry.
Yeah, makeup and all that's pretty feminine.
Yeah. So what is your calling card? So into like, what would you describe? How would you describe yourself right now in terms of your career?
Ooh, in terms of my career, just at the very beginning, to be honest, even though I've been into makeup for the longest time, I've never really taken that step as a business person. So back before COVID, I did take clients and I did do freelancing, but I was never like very serious about it until after COVID, and I started working like a few casual jobs here and there, and I kind of realized that I'm not really working towards where I want to be in life. I'm kind of just like going along. And so considering that I'm still young, it's like I need to make the choices, you know, that are going to benefit me and where I want to be in life. So I don't want to be working a job that I'm not happy with. And, you know, coming from a family that really pushed me to like study and like they wanted me to do all this and that, like they didn't really see my passion for beauty as something very serious. But I always saw it that way. Like I really didn't care. Like I didn't listen to a word anybody said. And I just really wanted to put my happiness and my passion into something that, you know, that's going to make me love life, I guess.
That's what I was thinking, actually, because you're now pursuing beauty.
Yeah.
And you have your own business. And you also have Asian parents.
Yes.
So, like, I guess...
Not the most traditional Asian parents, though, because my parents grew up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my parents were born in the 80s. So my mum was born in 1982 and my dad was born in 1984.
Oh, wow. They're so young.
Yeah, they're like... my mum's going to be 42 in November. No,
wow,
43, sorry.
Wow.
43. And my dad, his birthday is in January, so he's 41, I think.
Wow,
yeah.
okay. Young parents.
Yeah, so my mom was born in Canada, and when she was 8 years old, my grandparents moved to Australia. And my dad was born here, like Filipino mom, Aussie dad. And so like they met in high school, like in Campbelltown area, and yeah, like I was born and raised here, so they weren't very traditional, but I did get a glimpse into like a semi-traditional sort of like Asian upbringing, just because I did live with my grandparents. But as you know, grandparents tend to be very lenient towards their grandkids, so I think I was pretty lucky.
I meant as I was doing my research on you, you said you didn't like studying very much.
I wasn't very good at school. Like, I wasn't a bad kid. I just wasn't able to focus in school. So I had a lot of trouble, like, you know, doing homework, doing assignments. I got distracted a lot. I never hung out with the wrong crowd or anything. I was, like, very shy, very to myself. Every parent-teacher interview was always like, she's always daydreaming and she doesn't like ask enough questions and she doesn't put any effort into towards like her school, like her work and stuff. And my mom would get angry about that because it was like, you know, like, why aren't you like focusing? Like, why aren't you putting effort? Like, this is important. Like, I knew it was important, but I also knew that it, like, high school wasn't like the end of the world. Like, if you don't do well, it's not the end. Like, you know, your life is only just beginning.
Yeah.
I had an understanding of that from a very young age.
How?
I don't know.
It's very easy because to be quite like thinking like, oh no, like this ATAR this is what's gonna set me up for life, right? Back in that age.
Yeah, a lot of people were so stressed about it, and I did try a little bit, only at the subjects that I was good at. Though, like if I didn't like a certain subject, I was like, no.
So
like I just wouldn't.
What did you like?
Art and English.
Oh,
and I went to a Catholic school as well, so I was good at religion. Yeah. But I grew up in a Buddhist household, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, but art was like always my thing, I guess, being creative. I guess in art there's not a lot of pressure to like have a right or wrong answer because it's art, you create it. You're obviously when it comes to art, it's just like, you need to have like a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
You need to like explain the mediums and the materials you use and why this and that. And so you just make up anything. Like being creative, like I made up things all the time.
Yeah.
And so even in English, like when you write an essay, when you write a story, there's no right or wrong answer. It just has to make sense.
Yeah, it just has to make sense.
Yeah.
Well, actually, as I explore creativity a little bit more, I feel like the importance of the art subject is actually huge now, because
It is, yeah.
even in what you just said just then, like there's no right or wrong, and I think people need to understand that sometimes in life you're not always going to be like you don't always have to follow a curriculum.
Yeah, and like things aren't as black and white as people used to make it out to be.
Exactly,
Yeah.
especially now.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you got distracted a lot, but one thing I have noticed with your work, it takes a lot of it's like
Discipline and focus.
discipline
hey?
and focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I was watching your YouTube video, you as I was watching you were so focused into like putting the green.
Yeah, layering the colors and
yeah.
everything. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like makeup and like just everything about it, it just makes so much sense to me in a way. And there's actually so much science behind makeup as well. Like the ingredients of certain products don't mix well with other ingredients in certain products. So it's like you can't just use anything put together and then combine that with maybe the skin type you have. And, you know, there's a lot of science behind it. And I feel like it's taught me a lot scientifically as well. Like, you know,
100%.
just cosmetics and things
Yeah.
like that. And so I kind of like that educational aspect of it. I talk really fast sometimes.
It's all right.
But yeah.
It's very like I found it very interesting. Like I don't know if this is common, but you said you didn't really study makeup at all, but you seem to be someone that's I don't know, for my eyes, maybe it's just me, but your work is quite unique. I don't know.
you.
I don't know if that's true or not, but from what I've seen, like I don't really have much makeup artists on my Instagram feed. But
Yeah.
but it seems like even while I was going through your page, there was a lot of support and people saying, "I love your work. I love your work." And it's like, first of all, how did you even learn to become this style of makeup artist and found that this is your style?
Yeah, I've always been a very glam, like full glam kind of makeup artist. I know in Australia, a lot of people like to go on the more softer, natural side, but I guess I wasn't always someone that was into the things that everyone liked. I always kind of liked to go the extra mile. Like, if you ask my friends, like in high school, like I was always like, for someone's house party, I was always in like the best outfit and heels and the makeup and hair was done. Like, you know, and it's just someone's house. But you know what I
Was
mean?
that ever seen as overdressed?
Yeah, I always got people telling me like, "Can you calm down a bit?" Like, you know, it's just like, but it's like, no, like I want to shine. I want to be who I am.
I love it.
Yeah, and so I've always had that thing where it's like I want to stand out and just express who I am. Like I don't want to be like simple like everyone else. Like being simple is not a bad thing, but it's just like who I am as a person is not simple. Like I like to be over the top all the time.
Yeah.
Like style wise.
And the confidence was just you just had it from
No.
yeah. So explain.
I guess confidence had to be learned. So in high school, I was bullied a lot and I didn't have much friends. So that really hindered my confidence. But after a while of being so shy and afraid and anxious, I kind of just got over it. Because it's like, am I really going to live my whole life like feeling this way? Like
What was it? What were you feeling?
like socially anxious, feel like I can't be myself or express who I am. And it's like, I'm just like, you know, I'm a pretty cool person. And it's like, I should really embrace that. And like, why should someone else's thoughts or opinions or whatever they're thinking have any power over who I am? Like those people don't mean anything to me.
How old were you when you thought that?
16. That's when I started to come out of my shell at 16. Yeah.
And I swear people in their 20s still will think anxious, like have social anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And how does a 16-year-old have like, you know what? Why am I just trying to impress everybody else?
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, I guess coming back to being that stubborn child, I never liked anyone having power over me. Like, I always wanted to have the power over myself and control over myself. So it's like, why am I letting these people make me feel that way? It's like, you know, how come they get to feel good about themselves by shitting on me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to let that happen. It's just like, I'm going to feel good about myself and then go shove it. So yeah, I just got over it. Like, I just got tired of feeling like shit.
Yep.
So I just switched it. I was just like,
Wow.
I'm tired of this shit. Like, I'm actually tired.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if someone was to, well, I want you to envision someone that is going through social anxiety right now, whether they're in their teens or their 20s, and just feel just alone, had no friends.
Yeah.
What would you tell them first thing?
It's hard because, like, when you're kind of really encapsulated in that mindset and that, you know, emotional state, it's very hard for people to reach you, to get through to you, because it's like, you know, what you're feeling is probably so intense, like loneliness, and you probably become anxious because when you're lonely, like, you might get anxious about what people will think of you. It's like, why doesn't anyone hang out with me or, like, want to, like, you know, be friends? And, like, it would make you very paranoid and anxious and maybe insecure and doubt yourself. So I guess what I would say, it's like, you know, you have one life, and what other people's thoughts are of you, they're going to think that regardless whether you are, like, the most popular person, most coolest person, or who you are today. Like, they're going to have those thoughts and opinions no matter what. And you need to decide whether, you know, is it that important what they think? Because, like, they're living their life. Yeah. They don't, like, you know, and, like, it's like you need to have that power and control over yourself because, like, no one else is going to fix that for you.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll open up to you a little bit.
Yeah.
I started this podcast 2 years ago, and I was actually, I was going through a stage in my life where I was feeling quite anxious and lonely. Like, even though I had my partner at the time, and I had friends around me, there was a part of me that was like, I felt like everybody was just judging me for some reason.
I used to feel that way in high school.
Yeah. And I think whether it's you're in high school or when it happened to me 2 years ago, I'm 28 years old, it just seems like, how do I even approach this? And I feel like wisdom, like, I guess you build wisdom out of, like, from it, like, getting over it, but as well as,
like, you just get tired.
Yeah. Sometimes it's physically just like you're physically tired of just feeling this, because it's mentally draining.
Yeah, exactly. Anxious. It, like, really weighs on you in all aspects, and so you just get sick of it. Yeah. And it's like, you know, if you have it in you to, like, change it, like, you will. Like, no one else can make you do it or do it for you. Like, you just have it. You have that moment within yourself where it's like, this needs to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first thing that you did to sort of, like, overcome this state of mind?
I blocked everybody. Like, I would see them at school, but they'd be all blocked on my social media.
No way.
Yeah, I'm like, because it's just like, you know, if I don't see their faces, like, you know, like, I have to see them at school. Like, I want to go home and open my phone and see you.
Wow.
It's like, so everyone who bullied me or, like, who I felt like was in that circle of, like, speculating things about me. Like, obviously not the good people that few good people I had there, I kept them. But it's like I blocked everybody, and it's just like, I guess I had a really good support network at home. I had a lot of cousins. Even though I'm an only child, I had a lot of cousins, and I guess my parents and my grandparents were always very uplifting. Even though, like, you know, my mum and I butt heads a lot, the love was still there. And so if I ever told her, like, you know, how I was feeling about, like, you know, the whole bullying and being anxious, she'd be like, oh my God, Steph, they're just, like, people from high school. Like, you're not going to know them, like, in the future. Like, who cares about them? You know what I mean? Like, she wasn't, like, the most, like, oh, it's okay. She was just, like a more, like fuck them kind of person. You know, like, you're not going to see them ever again one day. Like, who cares about them? Wow. Like, you're going to go off and start your life and live your life, and they're going to do whatever. It's just, like, she was more of, like, just, like, you know, it's not that serious. Like,
it's not deep.
It's not that deep. Like, you know, even though it's, like, the way you feel, it's very deep. I I guess it's that whole aspect of life goes on, just like,
That is so masculine of your mum to say that.
yeah, exactly. Like she was very like tough, and so
Yeah.
I guess as a feminine person, you'd be more like, oh, it's okay, like
Yeah, yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah, she was like, honestly, Steph, like who gives a shit about them? Like you shouldn't give a shit about them, and I was like, well, like I'm still sad though. Like I was like, what do you mean? And then it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, oh, she's just so unsupportive, and she's just so like she doesn't get it. And then one day I was just like, I really don't give a fuck about these people.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's hard to kind of like, give you a black and white sort of like, this is what you need to do kind of answer.
Yeah.
But I would say, as life goes on, you go on. And I guess if you're someone that's kind of lonely and you deal with, anxiety and like maybe putting yourself out there, like I guess start in small steps. Prioritizing yourself, of course, first. So doing things that make you happy, doing things that make you comfortable, finding a skill, finding a hobby. Because when you start with those smaller things, it eventually reaches out. Like, example, makeup was kind of my escape. Like, I would go home and not do my homework. I would go watch a YouTube tutorial and, like, practice all these cool makeup looks. And then eventually, as I posted them on Instagram, people were interacting and being like, oh, this is really cool. And these were people that I had never met before. Like, just other people. Like, so I had a lot of, like, mutual friends on Instagram. Like, they were from Sydney or maybe other parts of the world, other parts of Australia. But it was kind of nice to know that it's like, not everybody thinks I'm like what other people think at school. Like, it's like, I guess it was my way, that passion turned into a way of socializing and networking, and like I eventually started to make like friends on Instagram and stuff. And so I guess, when you start with small things like that, it takes you places.
That's true.
Yeah, so
That's
I guess just work on yourself and work on things that make you happy, regardless of what people say.
Amazing. you when you started the Instagram page, was it the intent to put makeup?
No, I just wanted to have pretty pictures. I just wanted to look nice online. And then I got comments like, oh, like, how do you do this? Like, what do you use for this? And blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like, I actually like sharing this information. Like, whenever someone asks me a makeup question or, like, how can I fix this? How can I fix that? I get excited.
Yeah.
So it turned into me wanting to share more, like, makeup-focused content. And that's where it began. Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
When I was 2016.
How old are you now?
24. I was born in 2000.
Wow.
I'll never forget how old I am. I'll be like old and like, it's like, how old are you? I'm like, let me just check the calendar.
When you started Instagram and you started putting your work out there, did you ever experience imposter syndrome?
What does that mean?
Okay, so first of all, the fact you don't know what that means is very impressive.
Really?
Because it's a thing because a lot of people just say it's a thing. I asked what this is to business owners and people that are new to business, is because imposter syndrome is a feeling of low self-esteem and low confidence in putting yourself out there.
Oh.
So it's like, let's say a general case of a makeup artist with imposter syndrome is somebody that thinks, oh, what if my work is not that pretty?
And like, so very doubtful.
Very
thoughts.
doubtful,
Yeah.
and it's like, I haven't done all that study, but you're someone that hasn't studied it at all.
Education is not my thing. I can't read a book. Like I can read a book. Like I can read and write, but like I get so like my attention span, like when it comes to like trying to focus on anything that's not like so creative, I guess it's just like
Yeah.
I get bored.
It just shows it shows a lot about your character, even especially you don't even know what imposter syndrome is.
It's a lot to learn.
And at this point, I think it's something, since you're not familiar with it, it just tells a lot that you just said you were bullied, you had confidence issues at the start, but then you just 180 at a certain point of your life. And especially as a woman, I think this is huge because
Really?
my last my last guest, we were talking about the trends of fitness and how everybody is, you know, there was a point of their life, a point of fitness trend that having a big ass was the thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then apparently we are now in like this Ozempic era where everybody's taking Ozempic.
Yeah.
What do you know about it?
I just know a lot of celebrities use it and they lose weight pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly, but some sort of product. I guess you ingest it, or maybe you can. I don't know how else you would take it, but it like makes you shred. Like I'm pretty sure Kim K's used it. Kylie's probably used it. I know Ice Spice has used it because she used to be a bit bigger, and she's still thick, but like she's a bit more toned. Like her waist is smaller. Like I know celebrities use that heaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever fall into that? I guess I wouldn't say it's a trap, but like you sort of all these influencers have like are doing a certain behavior, and it's like maybe I should do that.
I wasn't someone who was ever like easily influenced by things from a very young age, and I feel like that's why I didn't have many friends because I wasn't like a go with the crowd kind of person. Like if I didn't like something, I don't care. Like it's like I don't like it, and I'm not going to associate with it. So I guess I had an understanding of my body image from a very young age as well, and it's a good thing because my mum really enforced this in my mind. She was just like, Stephanie, you're very small, naturally small and petite girl. Like it's not normal for you to have a gigantic BBL butt. Like that's not something you're born with. That's not natural. Like that's an enhancement that someone gets. So don't ever feel bad about yourself because you don't have like the same features as this person because you're a different person. And we all grew up, like we're all born uniquely,
Your
differently.
mom is a gangster, man.
She is. She really is in all aspects.
What do you mean?
Like my mom's told me some pretty funny stories. Like back when she was still dating my dad. So in Campbelltown, there's a suburb called Raby, and that's where I grew up. And there's a suburb called St. Andrews, that's where my dad grew up. And they were separated by a highway. And now there's a bridge, but back in her day, there was no bridge.
Right.
And to go see my dad, she would like run across the highway, like climb the walls and run across the highway. Yeah, like she was, she was just out and about being rebellious.
Wow.
And it's funny because my uncle, her older brother, is the total opposite. He was like the school captain. Very in his books, in his study, like went to uni, did everything. And so it's funny, like they're just like two opposite ends of like the spectrum. So she is a gangster for sure.
Yeah. Wow, she's, from what I'm hearing now for the past, I don't know how long it's been now, but from what I see on Instagram is like, it's basically the front cover, right?
Yeah.
Of who you are. But then it all makes sense now.
Really?
Like, no, it really does, because when I'm scrolling through your page, it's just like confident. I don't know how to really describe it. It's just bad bitch energy, main character energy.
Thank you.
And it's just like, it's the I don't give a fuck what people think, because this is, like I said, I don't come across much makeup artist pages, but to me, I think like this is bold, and like there's that's why all I see is that's why I'm like digging in more, but it's like I can't, so I'm asking you all this. And it's like, wow, this all makes sense.
Oh, I'm glad. I honestly don't understand it myself. So so you saying this is helping me. So thank you.
That's good. And I do want to get into the topic of beauty.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is beauty to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Obviously, beauty to me is not just physical, and it's not just on the outside, as cliche as that sounds. It's true. I think you can find beauty in every aspect of life. So you can find it in people's energy, in an action. You can find it in music, in art. You can find it in relationships, friendships. There's beauty in all aspects of things. There's always something to appreciate and admire in something. You just really have to look inside and look into it. I personally don't think beauty is just targeted towards the appearance or something physical. I think beauty is a feeling, and a positive feeling.
Yeah.
It associates with happiness, with love, with appreciation. Like, yeah, I just think beauty is a big umbrella term.
I love it.
Thank you.
What is happiness to you?
Oh, happiness. I don't know. Like, happiness is like, it's so many things. It's like, I don't know, enjoying like a simple, relaxing day at home.
Do you think that happiness is something we're always going to try and attain, or?
Of course. Who doesn't want to be happy?
Yeah, no, as in like, with happiness, is it just always going to be a destination, or do you think we'll actually get it, or we can get it right now?
I think happiness has to start when you want it to start. So it's never something that you have to reach, because people are just like, you know, I'll be happy when this happens. So like right now you're not happy then.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll be happy when I like own a massive house and blah, blah, blah. It's like, but I guess happiness has to start where you are right now. Like, because what happens when you attain that house? Like, there's always going to be something else after that. You're going to reach for something else after that. And I'll be happy when I get this. And then when I get that, I'll be happy when I get this. And then it's just like, I think happiness has to really just start where you are now in the moment. Like where you are. You just got
I love
to,
it.
yeah, thank you. You
so
just have
good.
to appreciate the now.
Yeah.
You have to appreciate how far you've come. And you have to just really find happiness. And it feels like it's something that, you know, is never going to happen, like, if you keep pushing it off and being like, you know, I'm going to be happy when I reach this level.
Yeah.
And that level. It's like, it's got to start now. You got to be happy and appreciate what you've got now and, like, what you're around now and how far you've come. Because it's just like, when you push happiness away from you, like when you see it as a far away object, it's like you'll never reach it because it's just going to continue on to the next mile.
Yeah.
When you reach that.
That's true.
There's always going to be something else that you want.
Have you ever experienced the opposite of what that is? Of just like never, you just feel like you're just in dumps.
Like stuck?
Stuck, yeah. Stuck in the mud.
Yeah. Plenty of times.
When was the last time you felt that?
Ooh, this is going to sound bad. When I got fired the second time last year from a second job. So a bit about that. So last year was a pretty like low year for me because I was experiencing some sort of pressure. So I used to work at Sunglass Hut on George Street in the city, like the big one. And I had met a lot of good friends from there. Like one of my best friends is from that store, and I'm close with quite a few people that I started with. And they were all moving on to their careers, like different things. And I felt the pressure, like, to move on as well.
Oh, yes.
Because it's like, because you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, everyone's leaving. Like, fuck. Like, and I'm still here. And so I felt this pressure to, like, find something else, find something new. And so I kept entering all these, like, random other jobs. And I wasn't happy. And it's just because I just wanted to move on. Like, I wanted to feel like I moved on. But I didn't. Like, I was just, like, at the same position, just in another place. And so I remember I worked at LV and Fendi towards the end of, like this time last year. And, you know, I tried to force myself into thinking like, yeah, this is it. Like, I want to, like, you know, really do this for a while I save up to, like, do my business. Because my business was always in the back of my mind.
So
like,
you already made the decision.
Yeah, but I was like, I just want to, like, invest, put some money away. And so I was like, I'll work all these other jobs to, like, invest and bring some money in. But I was just, like, really, like, I really didn't have the motivation to go to these jobs. And so I would turn up late all the time, wouldn't really be able to, like, put in a lot of effort towards, you know, working at these different places. And I got fired from both LV and Fendi. The reason why I got fired from Fendi, though, it was not a motivational thing. It was a little bit of a HR issue.
Oh, okay.
Not my fault, by the way.
Okay.
But, like, we can get into that if you want. But,
Yeah, well... yeah.
I guess I was at a low point then because I was like, I keep getting fired. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a shitty feeling. And it's just like, you know, it's like, what am I doing? Like, how am I going to, like, invest into, like, my makeup and all that stuff? And, you know, I guess at the beginning of this year, I was like, this year's going to be, like, I'm going to do things differently. Like, I don't want things to go the way they did last year. So I still work at Mecca. So I work at Mecca in the city. And I've always had that job. And that job has probably been one of the best jobs I've had because it's such an amazing company. And I decided to, like, just focus on, you know, Mecca. It's beauty related. I get to, like, you know, be around makeup. I get to, like, you know, invest into my kit by, like, focusing on working there. It was because I didn't get much shifts there. I started to look elsewhere, and that's kind of all. That's kind of like how I jumped into, like, not focusing on what I want to do because I was just, like, trying to, like, make all these financial ends meet because I wasn't getting enough work at Mecca. But then I was like, you know what, maybe I just ask for more shifts. Maybe I just, like, really push for that industry because, like, it's related to what I want to do anyway. And so at the same time, I started focusing more on working at just the one job that I liked. And then I was working on my business on the other side. And so I started, like, you know, putting my work out there. So I made a makeup page and I got, like, a few of my friends, like, did their makeup, just started posting it. And I started getting inquiries again, like how I did before COVID. So I kind of just had to start again. And I started from scratch this year. And so I guess, yeah, I'm just trying to make sure, like, you know, I don't fall into the trap of, like, not focusing on what I want to do because that's how I ended up in the dumps.
Wow. Describe the feeling of...
That story spiraled a little bit, but I hope it made sense.
No, it's more detail the better.
Thank you.
The start of just... there's just so much to debunk with that. Honestly, it's just very... First of all, when you were working at Sunglass Hut.
Yeah.
You were, like, what, in your 20s? So just finished high school? Like, what was that?
I started in 2021. This was, like, when we all just started coming out of COVID, like that second lockdown.
Okay. So, but it was just a job to us, just for the sake of working?
Yeah, and what's funny about it is I went into that job because I was like, I don't get enough shifts at Mecca, I'm just going to take up another job. So I went into that job because it was just, like, just to make some money. And I was like, yeah, put it away for my freelancing business. But it's like, I was like, why do I keep holding it off? Like, I just start where I am now with what I have and, like, just slowly grow it. Like, just, I feel like you got to start somewhere.
I feel like a lot of people do want to start business, but it's always just a reason that they don't. And it's more often than not, it's because it's just themselves.
Yeah, it's because, like, you feel like, oh, but I don't have this, I don't have that. And, like, oh, but, like, you know, like, I don't have this following and all that stuff. It's like, well, everyone started somewhere. Like, the biggest companies started somewhere. It's like, it's just all about, like, you know, when you're going to take that leap.
Yeah.
It's never comfortable to take the first big leap. But you just got to, like, really just throw yourself out there, you know, like, you know, mistakes will be made and, like, you know, things won't always go the way you want, but it's all a part of learning and growing, and that's how, like, the, you know, whatever you're working on continues. Like, it's all just adding. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm, like, the worst at explaining things.
No, it makes sense.
I hope so. Thank you.
It's I think the narration is good. Now, in terms of the HR case,
this is juicy.
Well, before we get into it, was that a big barrier of you growing like even more? Was this like another case of, like, I don't know, confidence?
It was kind of like that last straw for me.
Okay.
So I worked there for about 3 weeks, And so this was during the Christmas period. So like it was coming up to Christmas time. And so I was supposed to get paid each fortnight like everybody else. And so come that fortnight, I didn't get paid. And I asked my coworker, I'm like, hey, like, did you get paid last night? Like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I didn't get paid. Like, and they're just like, oh, yeah, the person in HR did the same thing with me when I first started. And I was like, oh, really? And then they were like, yeah, and I didn't get my pay till about a month later. I was like, well, at that time, my boyfriend wasn't making enough to take care of us by himself. So I had to contribute for rent and bills and things like that. So I was like, well, I need to, like, get this money because I have to, like, pay rent and things like that. And so I emailed her, very professionally, emailed this HR lady. And it was on a Saturday when I emailed her. And I was like, hey, I noticed that I didn't get paid and blah, blah, blah. Like, can we please, look into this situation because I do have, these things that are due. And so she gets back to me and she's just like, it was really annoying because I felt a bit gaslit in a way because she was like, oh, like, here's your pay slip. Just check your details are correct. And it's like, why wasn't I sent this pay slip in the first place? Yeah. And then I look at it and I notice the last 4 digits of my bank account, one of them was incorrect. I'm like, oh, so she's made a mistake. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, the reason why I didn't get paid is because you didn't enter my details incorrectly. And then she emails back saying, please check if the details that you put on the slip that you filled out, like, before coming into the role are correct. And, like, I sent her the slip because all the details on there were correct. I'm like, yes, they are. Like, and I sent them to her. And then she's like, so are you saying the details on this pay slip are incorrect? I'm like, I'm just like, well, I wouldn't be emailing you if they were, hey. And then I'm like, yes, they're incorrect. I really wanted to go off, but I was like, I wanted my money, so I was like, yes, they're incorrect. And then she's like, okay, this will be sorted on Monday. I was like, okay, thank you. Come Monday, I don't hear from her. So I email her again. I'm like, hi, just following up on this. Like, please let me know, like, what's going on. And then she's like, hi, Stephanie, an out-of-cycle payment has been made to you today. Please let me know when the funds have reached your account. And so when they do reach my account, I tell her and I say, thank you for sorting it out. All is well. And the next day I get a phone call saying that, like, oh, yeah, unfortunately we decided to let you go.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, it's not a coincidence because her reason was we can't give enough work to our new casuals. But a week ago she was talking about making me full-time after the Christmas period. Oh. And it's Christmas period too. Like, what do you mean you don't have enough work for new casuals? And you only hired 2 new casuals.
Yeah.
For Sydney.
Yeah.
Me and some other person.
Yeah.
And that other person stayed.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, this is not a coincidence. Clearly, your reason has been made up. Like, I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
You probably got in trouble from whoever was higher up because you made a mistake on the payroll and now you're just taking that out on me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she tried to cover it up, but it's like the way everything was aligned and, in the sequence of everything, like, it was a bit obvious. She was just not happy because I made her pay me because she didn't pay me on time.
Yeah.
So that's why I got fired in my theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in that situation itself, it almost sounds like it's what was meant to happen.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the universe kept pushing me away from all of these like things that didn't have anything to do with what I want to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It was actually hilarious when I received that phone call. I was like, sure. Anyways, laters.
Here you go again. This is whatever energy, all good. Life moves on, like goes on.
Like, I felt pretty shitty about it first because it was like, again, like I'm fired again. But then I was like, you know what? I feel like this is a sign. Like, I just really need to focus on what I've been putting off for so long.
Well, yeah, like initially the other place was, like you said, motivational, right? And then this one was it was not really motivational. It was more so circumstantial.
Yes.
And it's just like, how many more, it's like the universe is asking, how many more signs do I need to give you?
Yeah, it's like, and I'm like, well, like, it's like, I better just take this sign before I get fired from another place. For whatever stupid reason.
Before getting, I guess, were you pursuing anything before you were taking makeup seriously?
Yeah, so when I finished high school, there was pressure to study. At that time, when I finished high school, I just got into a relationship. And my whole life, my family has been very strict on, like, you can't have a boyfriend. Oh. So in high school, I wasn't allowed to, like, associate with boys at all. Yeah. And so, like, of course I had friends that were guys, but, like, I wasn't allowed to have a relationship. And so I started talking to my boyfriend now on Instagram towards the end of high school, like during my HSC. Like we were just DMing, and we went on a few dates. Obviously, I snuck out.
You're just like your mum, huh?
Yeah, the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree. And then so I was sneaking out, and he was actually, because he's from like Blacktown, Quakers Hill area originally. And I was from Campbelltown. So very far. He's like making all this effort to come see me, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm gonna see this guy then. Yeah. And so I was sneaking out to see him, and then eventually I got caught. And then so I just came clean. I'm like, I have a boyfriend, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is how it is. And then my mom was like, well, you can't have a relationship until you study and get a job. And then so immediately I was like, oh shit. Well, I was like, I want to be in a relationship with this guy. So out of fear, like, I just became a waitress at a Thai restaurant. And then I applied for FBI Fashion College in Glebe, like near the city. Yeah. Because I had an interest in fashion. And I also had an auntie that enrolled there many years ago. So I got her to help me with my application. And I made it. I really tried to force myself into thinking, like, yeah, like, I want to study fashion. Like, it sounds so fun. Like, it's cool. And so, like, I went to a few classes and I did a few internships, and I'm just like, I really don't care about this shit. I'm like, what am I doing here? And, like, this was after my grandmother paid, like, $12K for me to get into it.
Oh, my God.
And I felt terrible. But I was like, I can't be miserable for the rest of my life. Because eventually, like, I'm going to trick myself into thinking I want to work in fashion. And where else is that going to take me? To more misery. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to stop going to classes. And I told my mom, but I didn't tell my grandma. So my grandma thinks I graduated fashion college.
Still to this day. Oh.
On my dad's side, my Lola.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I don't live with her. It's like, she can't ask me every day. Yeah. It's like, you know what? Just, I'd rather not stress her out by thinking that she wasted $12K.
Oh, my God.
She's like, how come I didn't get to go to your graduation? And I was like, they only let me invite one person. I invited my mum. I feel terrible, but she's someone that panics really hard. Like, she stresses, and I'm like, yeah, I can't tell her this. Yeah, For the sake of her, I can't tell her this. I'm so sorry, Lola.
One day she might even come across
I'm really, really sorry. It's terrible.
Okay. So
yeah,
I don't even know what question I asked just then, but
you want to get deep, and we go deep.
Yeah. I love it. This is a story in itself, and from what I gather from all of this, though, is so much self-love.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of, you know what, I'm gonna put myself first here, and not anyone else, even if that means family, because I think that's one of the biggest things, especially from traditional like grandparents, parents, where you put them first because you don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah.
How would you teach self-love?
I think to teach self-love, it's never easy to teach that.
It's not.
It's not, because you could say, like, this is how you do it. Like, you could give, like, the best, like, backed up answer for something like this. But I personally feel like self-love is a journey.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, even though I made it seem like it was like just a flip a switch kind of thing for me, it was very gradual. So I made that change, but I still had moments of doubt. I still had moments of anxiety, but I had to like pull myself out of those things. And it takes a very like strong-minded person to do that. So I think practicing self-love, the first step would to be surround yourself with people that appreciate you, things that make you feel happy. So let go of, you know, all the things that you feel are weighing you down, or like, you know, things that don't serve you. And so it has to start from where you are now and like what's inside. Like you need to make sure that, you know, in order to progress, like you need to make sure nothing's blocking you to progress to the next step. So it's just whatever makes you feel good, like surround yourself with that. But in saying that, like, not everything that makes us feel good is a good thing for us.
Yeah.
So it's very hard. Like, it's not an easy thing to teach
not.
self-love.
It's not.
So, you know, it's very gradual. I would say there is no timeline. It's not a race. Like, you know, it's your own journey and take it at your pace. But I guess just start by taking care of yourself, like doing things that are best for yourself, even if it makes you uncomfortable, because you have one life and you need to take care of that one life.
All right, man.
Yeah.
It's such a, I love this energy.
Thank you.
So good. It's getting to that point now. It's time for us.
Fun.
Discussion. So what you do is you can go first.
Okay.
I'll take this out. That's just the rules.
Okay.
You go first. You're going to ask me a question.
Okay.
All right.
Can I just pick any of them?
Pick any.
I'm
Like,
just going to pick a random one.
yeah.
If my nail can fit into this thing. Do I show you? Or do I read it out to you?
Oh, yeah. You can read it.
What is the hardest thing you've ever done in your life? In case I didn't read it properly. Remember, education's not my thing.
The hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Well, right now, I don't know. Actually, it's funny because we do so many hard things in life, and yeah, starting business is one thing, starting a podcast is another.
Yes.
I can't think of anything right now, but I feel like backing myself. If I was to go deep, backing myself and actually, you know, going against, you know, what my family had for me, because again, the same thing as coming from a Filipino family.
Yeah.
A
lot of expectations.
The expectation is for you to go to uni and just
Be a nurse.
be a nurse. Be a nurse.
Let's be real, guys.
And it just did not interest me. Like, I went to uni.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't used one bit of it.
Yeah. Like, I
So-
feel like when you get pressured into these things, like, you don't actually have a use for it later.
Yeah. So one of the hardest things I've done is just, you know what, like I need to just not listen to my parents and just pursue this.
Yes.
Right now, my parents are better. Like I'm very grateful for that. They're very supportive of what my journey is. Even this podcast doesn't really pay me or anything, and they support it fully, which is
That's
awesome.
so good.
Yeah. I ran a marathon recently, so that was like one of the physically hardest things I've ever done.
Well,
I've done it-
congrats. It's not
thank you.
easy.
Yeah, thank you. So I would say, but to be like grand answer is just going against the grain of what I've been taught.
Yeah. What the expectation of you is, and like actually being who you want to be instead of what someone else wants you to be.
And it's that conscious decision to make that choice, because no one taught me. No one taught me to go against that grain and just like, no, just go do what you want to do, because
It didn't feel right, did it?
no.
And it doesn't feel right. Like, you can't ignore it. Like, no matter how hard you try to like force yourself into something, you can't ignore an intuition or what you're actually feeling and what your brain is telling you, or like your heart is telling you.
I remember there was a point I was in my degree, and I've already started. So I'm a personal trainer. So as
Very nice.
I was getting into personal training, and I remember I was doing like client like updates and whatnot in a tutorial
Okay.
or in a lecture.
Yep.
I was just so tired because I was trying to balance both. And my mate was just like, a friend of mine, his name was Ryan. He goes, mate, what are you doing? I goes, bro, I'm like, why are you still doing this? We're studying for exams at this point. I'm doing PT work. It's like, why are you doing this? I'm doing this for my parents, man. I'm not doing this for me. I was like, well.
It's just like, it's just like.
And then I had to just bite that bullet eventually, but like, you know what? I just need to.
You be you.
Trust myself, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so hard to just actually genuinely be you when you have all those pressures, like especially growing up like an immigrant Asian family. And it's just like what everyone wants you to be, who everyone's tried to shape you to be, to go against that, it's scary.
It's scary.
Yeah, and it's like, but again, sometimes the best decisions for us are the most uncomfortable ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So you got to take the leap, no matter how hard it is. If you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Exactly. And then once you take that leap, at least the next time when someone asks you, when are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? Or when you ask yourself, when are you going to do this? At least it's like, well, I've done it.
Yeah.
It's the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't worry. After the uncomfortable decisions, like it gets better.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
All right. When was the last time you cried and why?
A couple weeks ago. Because my best friend and I had our first ever like proper disagreement.
Oh.
Yeah, and like this friend I've had for a few years, and you know, there was just a big misunderstanding in between us, and I just remember like things weren't dealt with very well in the moment, and I'm normally someone who deals with things very well in the moment, but this particular situation really got the best of me, and I didn't deal with it in the best way that I should have, and there are many regrets from how I dealt with this situation. And so I remember crying because it's like, fuck, I've lost my best friend, like, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like, you know, I really tainted our friendship, but, you know, after sorting things out with this person, like, nothing was lost. If anything, like, it made us a bit stronger. So yeah, I remember crying because I was overthinking, like, as usual, and I was just like, fuck, I've, like, tainted our friendship, I've ruined it, nothing's gonna ever be the same, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I acted so stupid. And then, no, like, all was forgiven, and, you know, everything was spoken out properly and dealt with, and now everything is back to normal. But that's the last time I cried because I just genuinely regretted my behavior in a fight.
Yeah. It teaches you a bit about, you know, like how to, you know, behave.
Yes.
In like whatever it is. Because this is how you learn, right?
Exactly.
You learn from having so many, you know, encounters of, like, whether it's your best friend, whether it's someone that you really don't like.
Yeah.
And the way he's like, oh, I shouldn't act like that again.
Yeah. And it teaches me, like, you know, things that I can work on myself. Like, you know, how can I stop myself from feeling that way? Or, like, you know, what triggers me to, like, act that way? And, like, how can I stop that?
How did you not have that ego to think, nah, like, what I did was right?
I think because this person just means so much to me. And, like, I have, like, for all the people that are, like, really important to me, like, obviously I don't want any bad blood with anybody. And it's just, like, you know, when you're really important to me, it's, like my ego doesn't matter. Because it's just, like, my love for you and my appreciation for you is stronger.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying about being the people around you is so important to practice self-love. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I got my final questions I asked everybody.
Okay.
So if you had a food, zero calories, zero repercussions, what would it be? What would you have?
That's really tough because, like, I can't eat the same thing, like, every day.
Oh, it doesn't have to be every day. It's just one.
Oh.
It's just one thing.
Okay.
That you can just, I can have this whenever you want. You can have whatever you want. Like, nothing will happen to me.
That's really hard.
Surely it's like something you think of. All right, you're on your deathbed. Your last meal. What is it?
vodka pasta from Bar Toddy's. It's bomb. It's so good. But pasta is like, it's so good, but like it makes you feel so bad after.
Well, see, there you go. Zero repercussions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100% Bar Toddy's specifically vodka pasta.
I need to try that one. A lot of people have mentioned
good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's good. It's really good. I think quite pricey for what it is. And there's a lot of things that are just as good that for cheaper, but I guess it's like, it's because it's like a thing in Sydney, I guess.
Yeah,
it's like it's an experience.
Yeah. If you were to have $100 million, you had one day to spend it, how would you spend it?
I'd fix all my grandparents' and parents' financial situations. Like
12 grand.
Yeah, all their debts, all the issues, whatever the car, the house, whatever. Get rid of it. Because it hurts me to see in their old age still dealing with financial bullshit. So yeah, because they did make some not so wise decisions like gambling and stuff in the past. So I would just make the slate clean for them.
Yeah.
Just take away all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you rather die right now or live forever?
I live forever. I've been watching Vampire Diaries every day, and I'm like, you know what, being immortal is pretty cool. I live forever.
It's so funny. That's your reason. Being a vampire is pretty cool. So.
Yeah, and it's not even just living forever, not being a vampire, but living forever. It's there's no pressure to do this at a certain time. I got forever. I guess it'll be pretty sad though if you outlive people that you love.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad, but you know what? It's I don't want to die right now. There's so many things I have to do. At least one day they're going to die. At least I have so much time to make them happy in their entire life. Do whatever I can for them, make their life so amazing because my life's never going to end. But one day their life will end. So I'm going to make their life amazing while they're still living it because I have the power to.
I've never heard that answer. I love that. That's so
good. At least I know one day they're going to go, but they're going to go knowing that I was able to help them live their life to the fullest because I had all that time.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Thank you.
Okay. If you were to have dinner with one person alive, one person no longer here, who would it be?
I feel like I hear this question a lot in podcasts, and I honestly have never ever thought about what my own answer would be. So this is pretty interesting. Alive. Can be anybody, right?
Anybody. People would think it has to be a celebrity, it doesn't.
I want to pick a celebrity, but it's I really don't know who. This is going to take a few minutes. Ooh, someone alive.
Anyone that you just wanted to pick their brain or just share a moment with over some Bar Toddy's pasta?
Yeah. Ooh. I'll pick. You know what? I have dinner with my man because I feel like we don't go out on enough dates. So I have dinner with my man because he's alive.
There you go.
Someone who passed away. Damn, who's passed away? I would really want to have dinner with.
Well, let's say it's gonna be a round table of you three. Someone that you feel it could be someone that could give you advice or someone that you never had the chance to share a meal with.
Stanley, because my boyfriend loves Marvel. I would love them to have dinner together. And then seeing him happy, meeting the person who created his favorite ever series would make me happy. There you go. My man and Stanley, because they would have a fire conversation. They'd be so happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stephanie, is there anything you want to plug?
If you got any occasions coming up, I will do your makeup. Please come visit me. Stephanie Melania MUA, based in Rouse Hill. Yeah, please book with me because I would love to do your makeup.
Any final words?
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank
I
you.
really, really enjoyed being here and getting to know you and being on your podcast.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Yay! I felt like that